Zack Snyder didn't hold back on who the best Superman actor of all time is. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Zack Snyder took to X to wish a happy birthday to Henry Cavill on May 5, 2025. However, the DCU director and producer also took the opportunity in the same post to declare Cavill as the greatest Superman of all time. Cavill portrayed Superman in Snyder's Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League, both the theatrical cut and Snyder's version. Snyder also included a behind-the-scenes photo of Cavill in full costume during one of his appearances as Superman. Zack Snyder's Justice League and Man of Steel director Zack Snyder recently let the world know who he thinks the best Superman actor of all time is. Snyder's interconnected universe within the world of DC got scrapped after Discovery acquired DC and Warner Brothers, leading to the creation of a new studio, DC Studios, with its own universe led by James Gunn and not including Snyder. It is not surprising that Zack Snyder wished Henry Cavill a happy birthday. The two worked on multiple films together and likely developed a pretty strong friendship. However, picking 2025 to be the year that he publicly makes a post about it while also declaring that Cavill is the greatest Superman of all time is a bit surprising. Snyder has been on X for over a decade and has never made a post about Cavill's birthday except for 2025, which just so happens to be the same year that a new Superman film is coming out. Snyder taking the time to call Cavill the best actor to put on the cape in the same post, just 2 months before the new Superman, read more about the 7 villains that will be in Superman here, is released, doesn't seem like a coincidence. Snyder's post will likely cause some fans to raise an eyebrow, as marketing for James Gunn's upcoming Superman film starring David Corenswet has recently ramped up. That film will be released on July 11, 2025, and will not include Snyder in any capacity, though some have ideas on how Snyder could be incorporated in the future. However, Snyder likely doesn't have any malicious intent with his post. Yes, he may be taking a little jab at the new DC universe, but he isn't publicly trying to throw it under the bus. The director likely thinks Cavill truly is the best Superman actor ever, and there's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, he is also seemingly letting fans know where his opinions stand on the upcoming Superman film. It is not surprising that Zack Snyder wished Henry Cavill a happy birthday. The two worked on multiple films together and likely developed a pretty strong friendship. However, picking 2025 to be the year that he publicly makes a post about it while also declaring that Cavill is the greatest Superman of all time is a bit surprising. Snyder has been on X for over a decade and has never made a post about Cavill's birthday except for 2025, which just so happens to be the same year that a new Superman film is coming out. Snyder taking the time to call Cavill the best actor to put on the cape in the same post, just 2 months before the new Superman, read more about the 7 villains that will be in Superman here, is released, doesn't seem like a coincidence. This actor was supposedly set to be a big part of the DCU had it continued. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. A recent interview confirmed the actor who would have played Batman in Zack Snyder's Flashpoint film, and it is the perfect choice. The Flashpoint movie was just one of many DC comic stories Snyder wanted to tackle with his DCU but never got the chance to, with the superpowered universe being rebooted on the backs of James Gunn and Peter Safran. Years after the end of Zack Snyder's DCU, the Man of Steel director's ever-so-perfect pick for a Flashpoint Batman actor was finally confirmed. From 2013 to 2017, Snyder shepherded DC Comics' on-screen brand. The filmmaker never realized the full extent of his DC vision, being taken off 2017's Justice League and, thus, out of the franchise entirely. That has not stopped the filmmaker from sharing his extensive plans for the future of the Blue brand, including tackling the iconic Flashpoint DC comic story. He then revealed that there were initial plans for him to play a Flashpoint version of Batman in the DCU, but those ideas never came to fruition. There was a time when Flashpoint Batman would have seen these two characters in a much bigger role, Morgan explained. So I don't think. The idea was, truthfully, that Zack was going to do more movies, and that I think that there was a time when Flashpoint Batman would have seen these two characters in a much bigger role. We never got a chance to do that, unfortunately. But it was the first time that Lauren and I met. I remember meeting her for the first time, and she had just started The Walking Dead, and I was a huge fan. Speaking with Den of Geek, Walking Dead star Jeffrey Dean Morgan disclosed that he was in talks to play Zack Snyder's Flashpoint Batman before the DCU was rebooted. Talking about the first time he and his Walking Dead co-star Lauren Cohen met, Morgan described getting to play Thomas and Martha Wayne together in Snyder's Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Question: I'm sure this has been brought up in the past, but I don't think I ever looked it up myself. Was it Zack Snyder's purpose to kind of play a joke on people by having you both play Thomas and Martha Wayne, or was it like your suggestion or something like that at that point? Morgan: that was the first time we'd ever met or worked together, so this is well before. Cohen: oh my gosh, I just forgot that. Just literally forgot that. This is not the first time Morgan commented on the idea of playing an alternate universe Batman, telling fans in 2022 that Michael Keaton's casting in The Flash was the longtime Batman actor swooping in and taking his gig. He joked that it was serendipitous that the Man of Steel filmmaker brought him and Cohen together before they shared the stage in The Walking Dead. So I remember peppering her with a lot of questions about The Walking Dead. But no, I think Zack, luckily, just put us together. I don't know why or how, other than maybe thinking into the future what could happen. I think you'd have to ask Scott M. Gimple, 'cause maybe more of the joke is him casting us opposite each other. Zack Snyder's Flashpoint may have been stopped in its tracks before fans ever got to see it, but that does not mean the project was a completely known quantity. Zack Snyder's Flashpoint film never saw the light of day. However, some assumed elements from the project made their way into 2023's The Flash film starring Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton. Instead of any further stories in Snyder's vision of the interconnected comic book universe, the DCU will be rebooted this summer with the release of James Gunn's long-awaited Superman movie. Despite the movie seemingly being divorced from alternate universes, unlike many current superhero affairs, Superman borrows a multiversal villain for one of the film's main antagonists. The movie would have likely served as a culmination of the first era of Snyder-led DC storytelling, being one of the Blue brand's biggest multiversal stories and essentially creating the DC multiverse and changing the continuity for Eve. Jeffrey Dean Morgan previously said appearing in the Flashpoint movie would have been very fun, but with the DCU reboot incoming, fans will now never get the chance to see it. Also, at this point, the Flash movie would have reportedly served as a key building block toward the event film, and it would have ended by reboot Angie, the universe, and introduce Angie, a new cast. This could have seen characters like the OG Snyder DCU Trinity swapped out for other actors, with someone like Morgan stepping into the superpowered role for any future appearances in the franchise. Since James Gunn previously confirmed that Zack Snyder has not expressed any interest in returning to DC or revisiting his Snyderverse, any future for a Flashpoint project is practically nil. The rumors were that the Flashpoint film would have featured Reverse Flash as its primary villain, seeing H. At a recent fan event, Zack Snyder threw shade at former DC boss Jeff Johns. Welcome to Stats In. If you're just joining us, please subscribe and don't forget to turn on notifications bell for more video. Another franchise Snyder was involved with is Watchmen, which the filmmaker adapted in 2009. Just like his DCU projects, the movie wasn't loved by the masses, but there was a dedicated group of fans who loved it. In the comics, there's actually a big crossover event between the two worlds written by Jeff Johns. This storyline was called Doomsday Clock and basically served as a sequel to the original Watchmen comics. So was adapting the event ever in the cards for Zack Snyder and DC Comics? Original Justice League director Zack Snyder threw some shade at DC's former president Jeff Johns at his recent Snyderverse fan event. According to Snyder himself, it doesn't seem like it was ever in the cards. At a recent fan event for Zack Snyder's time in the DC